Have you ever felt lonelier in a crowd than you do in silence? There's a reason why the smartest people you know slowly vanish from social life. Not because they're arrogant, not because they're broken, but because they see through the illusion. Arthur Schopenhauer called it the suffering of connection without meaning. In a world obsessed with fitting in, the intelligent seek something far more dangerous: truth. This is the dark philosophy behind their silence. Welcome to the Stoic path. Picture this: you're at a social gathering. Everyone's laughing at jokes you don't find funny. They're discussing topics that bore you to tears. They're excited about things that seem trivial to you. Meanwhile, your mind is racing with ideas they'd never understand, questions they'd never think to ask, and connections they'd never make. Sound familiar? Schopenhauer called this the fundamental paradox of intelligence. The smarter you are, the more isolated you become. It's not arrogance, it's mathematics. Think of it like this: if intelligence follows a bell curve, and you're on the far right of that curve, you're surrounded by people who literally cannot think the way you do. Schopenhauer put it bluntly: a man can be himself only so long as he is alone, and if he does not love solitude, he will not love freedom, for it is only when he is alone that he is really free. But why does this happen? Why can't intelligent people just adapt? Here's where it gets interesting. Intelligent people don't just see what others see, they see patterns, connections, and implications that remain invisible to most. It's like having superhuman vision in a world of people who think 2020 is the limit, when you can see 3 moves ahead in every conversation, when you can predict how most social interactions will unfold, when you can spot the contradictions in people's beliefs before they finish speaking. Socializing becomes exhausting. You're not just participating, you're simultaneously analyzing, predicting, and often becoming frustrated by the predictability of it all. Schopenhauer observed that the more a man has in himself, the less he needs from outside. Intelligent minds create their own entertainment, their own stimulation, their own meaning. They don't need others to fill the void, because there is no void. Their minds are already full. But here's the real kicker: it's not that smart people hate others, it's that they crave authentic connection so desperately that they'd rather have none than settle for shallow substitutes. Think about your last conversation with someone about something you're passionate about. Did their eyes glaze over? Did they change the subject? Did you find yourself dumbing down your thoughts just to maintain their interest? Schopenhauer understood this pain intimately. He wrote, "All satisfaction, or what is commonly called happiness, is really and essentially always negative only, and never positive." What he meant is that most people seek happiness through external stimulation, parties, gossip, entertainment, validation. But intelligent people often find these things hollow. They're not seeking to fill emptiness. They're seeking to share fullness, and when no one can receive what they have to give, isolation becomes not just preferable, but necessary for psychological survival. Schopenhauer introduced one of psychology's most powerful metaphors, the hedgehog dilemma. Imagine hedgehogs in winter, trying to huddle together for warmth. Get too close, and their spikes hurt each other. Stay too far apart, and they freeze. This is the eternal struggle of the intelligent mind in society. They need human connection. We all do, but their very nature makes close contact painful for both sides. Their ideas are the spikes that wound others, and others' limitations are the spikes that wound them. Most people solve this by filing down their spikes, dumbing themselves down, conforming, pretending to find meaning in things they find meaningless. But Schopenhauer argued that this is a form of psychological suicide. Better to be alone and authentic than together and false. Here's something society doesn't want to acknowledge. Being significantly more intelligent than average is often a burden, not a gift. Imagine being the only person in your town who can see color while everyone else sees in black and white. You'd try to describe the sunset, the flowers, the rainbow after rain, and they'd think you were crazy or pretentious. Schopenhauer faced this his entire life. His philosophical insights were so far ahead of his time that he spent decades in obscurity, dismissed by academics and ignored by the public. He wrote, "All truth passes through 3 stages. First, it is ridiculed. Second, it is violently opposed. Third, it is accepted as being satisfied." Intelligent people live in that first stage constantly. Their insights are ridiculed, their perspectives dismissed, their attempts at deep conversation met with blank stares or accusations of showing off. Is it any wonder they retreat? Society tells us that social success, having lots of friends, being invited to parties, being popular, is the measure of a life well lived. But Schopenhauer shattered this myth with surgical precision. He distinguished between two types of people: those who need others to feel complete, and those who are complete in themselves. The first group dominates society because they're constantly seeking external validation, making noise, demanding attention. The second group remains quiet because they don't need to prove anything to anyone. A man can be happy with any woman as long as he does not love her, Schopenhauer wrote, and the same principle applies to social life. You can enjoy shallow socializing as long as you don't crave genuine connection. But once you've tasted authentic intellectual and emotional intimacy, even if only with yourself, everything else feels like starvation. But here's where Schopenhauer's philosophy becomes liberating rather than depressing. He didn't see solitude as a punishment, he saw it as the ultimate freedom. When you're alone, you don't have to perform, pretend, or diminish yourself for others' comfort. In solitude, your mind can roam freely. You can pursue thoughts to their logical conclusions without interruption. You can feel deeply without having to explain or justify your emotions. You can be weird, brilliant, strange, profound. You can be yourself. Schopenhauer spent his mornings writing, his afternoons reading, his evenings playing flute. He took long walks alone, thinking. He ate meals in silence, savoring both food and thoughts. To most people, this sounds like hell. To him, it was paradise. The wise have always said the same things, and fools, who are the majority, have always done just the opposite, he observed. Maybe the fools are the ones desperately clinging to social acceptance, while the wise ones have discovered something better. Modern society is obsessed with metrics. How many friends you have on social media, how many parties you attend, how popular you are. But Schopenhauer understood what research now confirms. The quality of relationships matters infinitely more than quantity. One deep conversation with someone who truly understands you is worth more than 1,000 superficial interactions. One person who appreciates your mind, who challenges your thoughts, who can match your intellectual intensity, that's worth more than an entire social circle of people who barely know you exist beneath your social mask. Intelligent people often abandon broad social circles, not because they're antisocial, but because they're holding out for something real. They'd rather have one genuine connection than 50 fake ones. And if that genuine connection never comes, well, they've learned that their own company is pretty good. Society loves to romanticize the tortured genius, the brilliant artist, starving in his garret, the misunderstood scientist working alone in his laboratory. But we miss the point. They're not tortured because they're geniuses. They're often tortured because society won't let them be geniuses without paying a social price. Schopenhauer himself was called arrogant, difficult, antisocial. But read his works, and you'll find someone desperately trying to share profound insights with a world that wasn't ready to listen. His arrogance was actually frustration. His antisocial behavior was actually self-preservation. When you see patterns others can't see, when you understand implications others miss, when you're constantly thinking on levels others can't reach, it's not arrogance to acknowledge this reality, it's honesty. And honesty, Schopenhauer knew, is rarely popular. Here's the harsh truth Schopenhauer wants us to face. You can have social acceptance, or you can have authenticity, but you probably can't have both. The price of fitting in is filing off all the sharp edges that make you unique, interesting, and real. Most people pay this price gladly. They'd rather be accepted than be themselves. But some people, often the most intelligent ones, find this trade unacceptable. They'd rather be alone and real than popular and fake. This isn't a character flaw, it's a character strength. It takes tremendous courage to choose authenticity over acceptance, solitude over shallow connection, truth over comfort. But here's what's beautiful about Schopenhauer's philosophy. It's not pessimistic, it's realistic, and in that realism lies incredible wisdom. When you stop expecting others to understand you, you stop being disappointed. When you stop trying to fit in, you start appreciating your uniqueness. When you embrace solitude, you discover the richest relationship you'll ever have, the one with yourself. Schopenhauer found profound peace in this realization. He stopped waiting for the world to change, and changed his relationship with the world instead. He stopped seeking validation from others, and started validating himself. He stopped trying to be popular, and started being himself. The more a man has in himself, the less he needs from outside, becomes not a statement of isolation, but of independence. Not loneliness, but freedom. In our hyper-connected age, Schopenhauer's insights are more relevant than ever. We're surrounded by more people than ever before, yet loneliness rates are at historic highs. We have more ways to communicate than ever before, yet authentic connection seems rarer than ever. Social media has created the illusion of connection while delivering the reality of performance. We curate ourselves for public consumption, sharing highlight reels while hiding our true thoughts and feelings. We're more connected, yet more isolated than any generation in history. Intelligent people see through this facade immediately. They recognize that most online connection is actually sophisticated loneliness, people desperately broadcasting their existence while never revealing their essence. So what's the solution? Schopenhauer would say, stop apologizing for who you are. Stop dimming your light to make others comfortable. Stop pretending to be interested in things that bore you. Stop laughing at jokes that aren't funny. Stop seeking validation from people who can't understand your value. Instead, cultivate a rich inner life. Read deeply, think profoundly, create meaningfully. Find the few people who can appreciate your depth. They exist, even if they're rare. And most importantly, learn to enjoy your own company so much that others' absence doesn't diminish you. This doesn't mean becoming a hermit or giving up on human connection entirely. It means being selective, being authentic, and being honest about what you need versus what society tells you you should want. Schopenhauer's final insight is perhaps his most profound. True freedom comes not from having everything you want, but from wanting nothing you can't provide for yourself. When your happiness doesn't depend on others' approval, when your self-worth doesn't fluctuate with social success, when your peace doesn't require external validation, you become truly free. The intelligent person who embraces solitude isn't running away from life, they're running toward a better life. A life of authenticity over acceptance, depth over breadth, quality over quantity, truth over comfort. In the end, Schopenhauer's harsh truth is also a liberating truth. You don't need to apologize for being different. You don't need to shrink yourself to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. You don't need to choose between being smart and being happy. Sometimes the wisest choice is to walk away from the crowd and walk toward yourself. In that solitude, you might discover something society can never give you, the profound satisfaction of being completely, unapologetically, authentically you. The smart people haven't abandoned social life, they've abandoned the lie that social acceptance is more valuable than self-acceptance, and in making that choice, they've found something far more precious than popularity. They've found themselves.